that will be the 17th time in history that it's gone the complete distance for the season before we found a winner. But talking about winners, well, Greg Murphy's just going from strength to strength here at Pukekohe. Qualified first, one race two, and now he'll start from position number 1 in the third and final race for the 12th round of the V8 Supercar Championship. There's been problems with car 888. 10th on the grid, we'll update you there shortly. Not sure if it's actually made it out of pit lane yet. Jamie Whincup starting from 17th. Craig Baird in 19th. Team Kiwi Racing. Stephen Ellery, fast car, but he didn't get the result in race 2. Bradley Jones had his dramas. Russell Ingall, Stone Brothers Racing from position 26. You already would have seen Marcus Ambrose from position 23. But the battle between 51 and 1. We also have to watch out for Marcus Ambrose. Looks as though Scaife got a good start, and he certainly did. So too did Jason Bright. So Mark Scaife puts the pressure straight away on Greg Murphy. And now, could this be a repeat performance of race 1, 2 wide into turn 2? No, they settled out. Scaife, then Bright, then Murphy and Todd Kelly. But Lowndes has lost it completely. Gone straight across the grass and rejoined at turn 4.
Someone must have given that thing a tap because it's dragged the bumper off, not dissimilar to the Brad Jones issue in the previous race. So he's dropped a bundle of placings there. Scaife.
We're just going to try and stay out, mate. Stay out until the CPS window opens.
Excellent start for Bright. Very ordinary start for Murphy. Bright locks up, and I reckon Murph has a nibble on the inside. Oh, one of the Valvoline cars spears left in the braking area and has gone all the way through its Whincup and made contact, and I'd say heavily, with the tyre barrier.
Into the straight, no brakes, and I've backed it into the wall.
No brakes at the end of the back straight. The fastest part of the circuit coming down into the Holden hairpin, and Jamie Whincup goes into the tyre wall. Also contact I saw for Jason Bargwanna down there at that hairpin, but Mark Scaife has a clear break on Jason Bright.
62.9 the opening lap time for Mark Scaife, and he had a 0.8 of a second margin at the end of that lap, so it's an excellent opening for him. And the next closest was Bright with a 63.8. To give you an idea of just what traffic does to a field here, go back and look at somebody like Brad Jones in 10th place, and his is a 71 second lap time. A huge drop when you're back in the pack. That's the problem that Ambrose faces.
Greg Murphy's got a problem of his own at the moment. He's got Jason Bright in front of him, Todd Kelly behind him. Somebody's gone off to the right-hand side there. As they come up, oh, that's Whincup ambling home with some pretty severe damage.
Lowndes is going to get a mechanical black flag for the dragging bumper on that car, so they're not going to get through to the CPS, the compulsory pit stop window, to deal with that problem. Air temperature is 24, track temperature is 31. It's fractionally warmer than the earlier race. 57.8, fastest lap for Scaife so far on his first flying lap. 1.6 seconds the margin. The closest man in lap speed again behind him is Jason Bright with a 58.6. And in the early laps of the previous race, Matthew, people have some difficulties to overcome in motor racing as we look at the stricken left front of Whincup's car. Scaife had to contend with our commentary. There was some sort of an audio leakage problem, and their radios were picking up us, and I wouldn't wish him any worse luck than that.
Bad enough for everybody else, let alone somebody who's trying to work. I think, mate, that Lowndes might make it inside because the pit window opens on lap 2. Pit window's open at the end of lap 2 to 38. That's the start, and you see that Scaife gets past Murph.
His initial jump wasn't bad, but then it bogged. Brighty was the one that was in good shape, but being out wide there, he was in the marbles and had to yield to Mark, or it would have been a repeat of the wet race incident down there between Scaife and Max. There's Lowndes in.
It depends if they replay it, mate.
Now Greg Rust is down there.
Well, Craig's been on the radio talking to the crew, obviously wanting to have a good look at it, were his words. So I'm assuming that's obviously the incident which has caused this. A lot of time being spent on the back left here. They're trying to undo the bumper, losing a lot of time, Craig Lowndes. At least he was able to get the tyres on in the compulsory stop now.
Initially, we nearly stalled it then. Initially, they tried to tear it off, and then eventually went and got the Allen key wrench and just removed the whole assembly. And out he goes.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at where he was on the grid.
Mate, they haven't replayed the incident.
He started at 12th. Around him, without pointing any fingers, Paul Wheel, as he mentioned, Rick Kelly was around there, Dean Canto was behind him. Paul Morris and David Bernard were a row further back.
57.7 for Scaife on the last lap as Lowndes rejoins. Alongside Brad Jones, has to take to the grass side by side, and they crunch to turn 3.
It's what happens when you rejoin in traffic, isn't it? And that's exactly what Lowndes found himself in the position. Brad Jones coming through, he's got a fairly good dent.
It's the 2 rear bumper merchants getting together. Remember, Craig's on cold tyres. Ambrose to 16th. He's up the inside. Brad leaves room, but he's getting a touch up. And it's Tander that's just giving him a little touch as they go through the hairpin at 5. Ambrose 16th, 58.8 last lap for him. So he's made good ground.
He was a victim of that oil spill, Neil, in race 2. Ended up severely flat spotting a tyre, and that's why he had to come in for the second pit stop, which put him way down the order. The PlayStation 2 race score at the moment: Scaife, Bright, Murphy, Todd Kelly, Stephen Richards, Jason Bargwana, Paul Radicic, Simon Wills, Glenn Seaton and Rick Kelly make up our top 10. None of those contenders have bothered to go in for an early pit stop. In fact, I think only Max Wilson, Stephen Ellery and Cameron McConville, way further down the list, have.
Some people, if they're not being too traffic affected, will want to stretch this leg if they can to reduce the stress on the next set of tyres. Remember, only 12 tyres allocated for the 3 races this weekend. And, very important to manage them and get them through to a strong position in terms of your rubber in the last 2/3 of this race. Scaife's the fastest man on the track, 57.4 on his last lap. Aggravation here between Stevie Johnson and Russell Ingall, and Stephen Johnson is having one of those weekends.
Just incredible, isn't it? How it just falls apart like that, and they've worked so hard, those guys, since the end of race 2. Did a double engine change on 17 and 18. They're certainly not lacking in the hard work department, but they're picking up all the hard luck. The gap between Mark Scaife and Greg Murphy should be around about 5 or 6 seconds. That's what it looks like.
Scaife's 15th in the computer scoring at the moment, with Jason Bright the leader. Remember, he's not stopped. Glenn Seaton, Dean Canto, Russell Ingall, who we had a glimpse of before, David Bernard, Marcus Ambrose up in 6th. Those people still to stop. Greg?
Well, gee, it's been a tough weekend as far as damage is concerned for the Repco Valvoline Cummins team. Jamie Whincup, what happened?
Got off to a great start. We passed 2 or 3 cars in the first lap, and coming into the hairpin, we broke a rotor. Therefore, had absolutely no brakes, and the car spun around and backed into the wall and went up in the air, and managed to get it back to the pits, but a lot of damage and put us out for the day.
Darryl Beattie's there as Marcus Ambrose comes into the SBR garage.
Yeah, wheels off this car, guy. It all looks good so far. Russell Ingall was previously in here. They had a problem with the front left. Marcus has now stalled the car.
Hold it. Okay, go, mate, go.
And he's been got by Seaton in pit lane as well with that stall, but Ingall's stop had a problem with the gun. They had to replace it quickly, and then now they've brought Marcus in.
Disastrous, simply disastrous for Stone Brothers Racing. You can have your off days in motorsport, but when the championship is on the line, that's when it really starts to affect. Now the job is right in front of Marcus Ambrose, Greg.
It was pretty amazing, Matty, to watch both pit stops just then. Darryl at one end, I was up watching Glenn Seaton's, and they almost mirrored each other. Glenn also stalled when it came off the jacks. It was a bit of a gamble. He only just got in front of Marcus toward the exit.
And you might wonder at home how that could be the case with Ambrose flashing his lights at Seaton. And it's for the simple reason that if you are anxious and you use too much throttle percentage to get away, the cars will sneeze, the engine coughs, and oh, look at this. Ambrose pushing hard, trying to get by Seaton, and they'll just virtually stop on you, and it takes not much more than low teens, 15% throttle or more, and you're into the limiter and the car won't launch away, so you've got to coax the car away. Jason Bright's pace has been pretty good, He's actually dug himself out a little bit here. He's not going to slot in as far back as we thought initially. Murphy's pace has dropped away. Scaife's is not too bad. But Bright's actually going to get back into this in a reasonable position at the moment, I think.
And this is a real test of character for this man. 27-year-old Tasmanian, now a Queensland resident, of course. Leading the charge, been simply brilliant this year, no question about that. 5 victories in a row.
Just giving him a little touch there.
Five pole positions. He's definitely been the man of the moment for 2003.
He's got much better mid-corner pace coming onto the front straight than Glenn. But Glenn's got track position here. Where is all this? 17th and 18th. Not good numbers, are they?
No.
Lights again for Marcus.
It's the numbers that go with it at the end of the day that's really the bigger picture stuff here. At the moment, Marcus Ambrose has got a bank of 104 or thereabouts for the weekend. Greg Murphy's looking at 186 for the weekend. Very, very close.
Glenn's in no hurry to yield because he doesn't have to. They're from different organisations. He's got track position. And at the moment, it's going to be up to Marcus to try and find a way around, and that's what the team are counselling at the moment.
Had 4 straight victories, Marcus. In overall terms, Eastern Creek, Winton, Western Australia, Hidden Valley. Finished second in Queensland. His teammate took it out, and then another win at Oran Park. Sandown and Bathurst weren't good. And then 4th overall at Indy.
Glenn's got a little bit more of a margin on him this time and is able to run at the race line. Had to have a second stab at the brake pedal there to get the nose on line. Behind is Russell. Jim Stone watching on. And now Russell's buying in here. He's cranky. He's saying, tell Marcus to get on with it. If he can't get by, let me at it. I'll do the job.
Well, somebody's got to break the seal, and Glenn Seaton doesn't want to let that position go. Been a good last couple of rounds for Cedo. 7th at Indy, 2nd, of course, at Bathurst. And there you go.
Okay. Have another lap and let Russell try and do it.
Glenn just waved at me. I'm pretty sure that's what Marcus said. He said, I'll have another lunge, and then I'll let Russell go. Rusty, you've been across all this as well.
I'm at the other end of pit lane, Matty. I've been up at FPR. I walked straight in and made a beeline for David Flint from FPV. He knew straight away what I wanted to ask. He said, no time to talk right now.
Yeah, they're a little bit busy out there, Greg, aren't they?
Well, it's hard sometimes for everybody to grasp, I know, but and that's the Ford Motorsport manager, Stephen Crook. And even though a lot of folks see it along brand lines, Holden versus Ford, the teams and the drivers often don't see it that way. They're individual organisations with individual priorities.
Well, the signals are coming fast and furious from Marcus Ambrose to Glenn Seaton. Down that back straight, he continues to flash the headlights at him.
He's not really close enough.
I was just about to say, he mentioned there that he wanted to have another lunge, but he simply hasn't been in the position over the last couple of laps, at least, to have a crack at Glenn Seaton, a decent crack. And remember, this has got to be a low-risk crack as well. Certainly doesn't want to do anything stupid. Jason Bright, the only one out there yet to pit. It'll be interesting to see just how much ground he'll lose once he gets in and out with a new set of tyres on. Pit window closes at the end of lap 38, so Bright's got another 5 to go. before he has to come on in.
See, there's room up there if you've got a car that's going to brake a bit better, or a car that came off the previous hairpin a bit better, or is better in a straight line. Look at Murph's rear tyres. He's sliding around a lot, and so much so that Todd has a bit of a look here. This is going to be the situation for everybody here. A lot of cars sliding all over the road.
Ahead of Murphy, Mark Scaife has an 11-second lead over car 51. These guys have been going around together for quite a few laps, Murphy and Todd Kelly.
There's some discussion on the race control channel about whether, in fact, Glenn Seaton is blocking, and I'm sure that's been raised by SBR. But the pictures that we're seeing at the moment, I don't think so. Like, Glenn was on the race line on the way up into the hairpin then. Frustration for everybody. See, there's the margin.
Back in that battle that we were watching just before the break, there's been a little bit of a change. Marcus Ambrose has let his teammate Russell Ingall go by, so Ambrose can now have a crack. Sorry, Ingall can now have a crack at Glenn Seaton, and Jason Bright rejoins the race in 4th position. Mark Scaife is our race leader. Greg Murphy is 2nd. Then it's Todd Kelly, Jason Bright, Rick Kelly, Stephen Richards, Simon Wills, Paul Radisich, Jason Bargwana, Paul Wheel, Dean Canto, David Bernard, Stephen Ellery, and then we find these guys, Max Wilson.
Big reshuffle here. Yep. Ingall went past Ambrose. Ambrose got out of it on the previous lap to let him do it. Seaton's been shuffled back. Something has happened there. And now Ingall's also got past Max Wilson.
Well, Seaton's gone down behind Garth Tander on the order, so definitely something gone amiss for car 5 in that last lap. And Russell Ingall.
So the let me have a crack at the job remark from Ingall turned out to be pretty accurate. He's been able to get clear air basically pretty quickly. Look at this, Tander.
And
whoa,
Wilson.
2 at once. Gotcha.
Tander and Wilson get together to put the crunch on Marcus Ambrose. Tander got through, Wilson didn't. Seaton now crawls up behind Ambrose. I've never seen Marcus Ambrose under so much heat in 2003.
They're just giving him a belting at the moment.
Everybody's lining up to have a crack at him. And his teammate's doing his best to pave the way, but in between, he's getting caught up with fights left, right, and centre.
Greg?
Just watching Mark Scaife come through those final few turns and onto the front straight. He's really being very, very gentle with his throttle application and looking after those rear tyres. So good common sense approach from Mark Scaife. It does sound from the radio transmissions as well to Glenn Seaton's car like there may have been some sort of mistake. They're telling him not to apologise, just get on with the job.
Ambrose now applying pressure again to Tander, remembering this is a battle for 15th position.
You'd reckon it was for 1st.
Scaife still circulating in mid-58s. These guys, by comparison, are in the 59s. Right on the edge of that speed. 58.9 last time through for this little bunch.
On points alone, just see here how Russell Ingall, now this is what happened. So Ingall said, let me have a go at it, and I will. And he did, and it worked. He got past Seaton. As they went onto that back straight, he took the alternative route, but it worked anyway.
The Max Wilson traffic situation played a role in that one. Oh, Garth's got the rear of that thing hopping in the way to turn 5. He could not have braked 1 millimetre later up there then.
And there goes Jason Bright. So Bright now puts pressure on Todd Kelly. That's for 2nd, 3rd position rather. Greg Murphy has 2nd.
He's got a good car this weekend, hasn't he, Bright? It's looked after. It's
through the kink, down to the hairpin. This will tell us. Murphy clean. Bright gets it. So Bright goes into 3rd. Greg Rust.
I thought this might be a good time to introduce and talk to Roland Dane from 888 Racing. How's your season going so far? You joined around Sandown, and how's things progressing?
Yeah, not too bad so far. We'd like to be a bit higher up than we are now, but we're the top Ford running right now on the circuit today, this afternoon, so it could be worse, but we've got a lot of work to do to get right up the pointy end.
You've had some success in other types of touring car racing around the world. How have you found the unique supercars?
Well, this is the best touring car series in the world, full stop, bar none. And it's a privilege to be here. It's great to be here, and we look forward to growing even further with it.
Big year planned by the sounds of things in 2004.
Yeah, we got big plans for next year, but what counts is what you do on the track at the end of the day, so we'll be giving a maximum attack.
Let you get back to it. Thanks, Roland.
Thank you.
And Paul Radicic is the car that Roland's talking about there. He's in 8th position at the moment. And Bright is going hell for leather.
Well done. It was 13 seconds, 13.6 to Scape last time. He's doing 58.4, mate. So, yeah, it'll be a bit of a push, but if his tires start to go up a bit more at the end, it's possible to get pretty close to him, I think.
Just amazing how much things have changed just in that last couple of laps.
57.8 last lap for Bridie and 58.4 for Scaife. So this better electrical number 50 car is really honking along. 59.2 for Murphy, 59.3 for Todd Kelly, 58.6 for Rick Kelly, 59.3 for Stephen Richards, 9 flat for Simon Wills. Gives you a bit of an idea of their relative speeds.
Jason Bright, you would have heard when he got past Greg Murphy there, was getting the word, getting the picture of the guy in front of him that he needs to chase down.
Where it's worked well here for Bright is that he's now on a substantially younger set of tyres because he delayed taking this set in the compulsory pit stop until just recently.
Just recap on your PlayStation 2 race score. Scaife, Bright and Murphy make it 1, 2, 3, and then the Kelly brothers. Good effort from Rick Kelly, moved up 8 positions from his starting position. Simon Wills in 7th, Radicic is in 8th, Bargwanna 9th, and Paul Wheel rounds out our top 10. This is exactly what happened to him. Not really sure if he got a touch from behind, but wow, that was so close to the rail. He ends up tagging it down the end. An unusual position to go off.
And while Dean contemplates his exit, the final turn, turn 7, and it's interesting to just contemplate the margin between the two lead cars at the moment, because the last time through, Scaife and Bright 8.7 seconds. And there's probably still enough laps left for Bridie to get pretty close to the back of Scaife at the current close rate. Depends a bit on traffic.
And probably a lot on tyres. Remember that Mark Scaife came in a lot earlier than Jason Bright. And this better electrical car of Dean Canto is now all battered and bruised, and he's going to be shaking and rattling and rolling and just generally misbehaving for the rest of the race. Stephen Richards in position 6.
A lot of people pretty snaky about the way in which the safety car intervened in the last race and how it ultimately picked up who it needed to pick up in the field, feeling that Stevie Richards and Jason Bright got a huge free kick. But there he is at the moment in 6th position. So he'll salvage pretty solid points out of this weekend, despite being a bit uncomfortable with the way his car's performing. A lot of people now drifting into the 59-second realm, and once you get past the top 10, there are quite a lot of people that are in the plus 60-second range for lap speed.
Well, for the last few rounds, Rob Crawford's been smiling like a Cheshire cat inside that helmet. Both cars in the top 5, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the guys are driving well, and everything, touch wood, hopefully they'll be all right.
When you say touch wood, Murph's tyres, the rear ones, are they okay?
Yeah, no, they're fine. We're just picking a pace, and, you know, Bridie was quicker than us, so we let him through for the championship, you know what I mean?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, thanks.
They're making progress, the SBR guys. This is Simon Wills, he's in 7th. Ambrose and Ingle are up on the edge of the top 10 now, and Russell is doing the attack work. And the current man in the gun sights is Jason Bargwanna. Bargwanna 9th, Ingle now 10th, Ambrose 11th. And Bargwanna's struggling. He's doing mid-59s. He's under assault. Oscar talking there to Simon.
Cromley, I've just been crunching a few little numbers here in the Whitey calculator, which is very reliable, mind you. If it stays the way that it is in terms of overall points for the weekend and the adjusted points score, Greg Murphy will go to the last round with a 36-point lead.
Whoop.
David Bernard has got major troubles in car 7. And those troubles are only getting worse.
It's got some sort of an airbox fire, and often what happens here when you lift the bonnet, it gets a nice breath of air to give it an extra kick along, so he really needs to get the extinguisher. Whoop, and look at that, up it goes. Don't lift it, David, only going to get worse.
Whoa, whoa.
It feeds it, and now the guys are on the job, which is fantastic. The marshals just getting that nailed. Unusual to see that sort of problem. A bit off to the side of the road safely, and just a hassle. And Bernard just frustrated by a pretty tough weekend. And here's Russell on the attack. Gotcha. That was Paul Wheel. So Marcus Ambrose through on the inside of him as well. Here he is now getting Bargwanna. This is up towards the hairpin. He's in position. Bargs doesn't make a fight of it. So Russell's doing a good spear job here at the moment, just taking the heat, getting the hard work done, and this bloke tucked up underneath saying thanks for doing the hard work.
The barbecue has been put out at car number 7. Glenn Seaton's out of the car. This is our race leader, Mark Scaife. Greg Rust?
Well, Matty, with everyone going hammer and tong at this last race here at Pukekohe, we've had 3 races here this weekend. Neil's made a good comment throughout the course of it about the bumps around this circuit. Spare a thought for the front splitters on these cars. This is the one off John Bowes' car. They're around about $2,500. These unpainted, a mixture of carbon fibre and fiberglass. And as you can see, it's copped an absolute hammering across the bumps here at Pukekohe this weekend.
That's a really good view of a front wing on the cars. You can see the cambered surface on the trailing edge. It works like a wing. You don't often get to see them fully exposed like that. Thanks, Greg. That bump, obviously each set of shock absorbers and each car reads it differently depending on how you've configured the shock absorbers, but it's rated at about a 12-inch a second bump. That's how much the bump impacts the shock absorber, so it's a biggie. And when you stand over there between turns 6 and 7, the cars really dance. We've seen some awesome shots this weekend in our coverage, just showing how uncontrollable the cars can be there sometimes.
I must have grabbed your calculator, Cromley, because I need to make a correction.
I want the Mickey Mouse hand I noticed on yours. 3.5 seconds, incidentally, Matty, before you do that. Scaife to Bright.
Well, courtesy of Greg Murphy finishing overall on 188 points here, and at the moment Marcus Ambrose has a total of 120 points for the weekend. Start throwing figures around. It looks as though Marcus will actually hold on to the lead going to the final round, but of course his lead has been chopped away, and we know one thing for certain, that we will not know the champion now until the end of round 13 at Eastern Creek.
Point score is so simple to work out. I can't understand why you weren't able to just crunch that 0.1 of a second.
It's fried my brain for 13 rounds.
So we're on the last lap of this critical next to last round of the championship, and what a weekend for Greg Murphy. The Kiwis have loved every second of it. A commanding performance in the wet, an awesome performance in race 2, satisfactory in race 3, and this guy's been on fire. He's continued to pull down that margin to Mark Scaife on a younger set of tyres and a good strategy for Bright, but it's been a great performance and a comeback also from Scaife. Remember, he was virtually last after that contact with Max Wilson in the wet race yesterday. Matty?
Well, there's no question about it. He's one of the smartest racers out there. That's why he's a 5-time series champion. Mark Scaife comes across and collects race 3 at Pukekohe. He finishes first and gets a good haul of points, but more importantly, Jason Bright finishes second, and our overall champion for round 12 of the V8 Supercars is this man. He's done it again. Isn't he what? 3 straight for Greg Murphy.
That was a bit of a handful, but we did it. Good job.
He's the champion again here. We've had 3 championship rounds, and Greg Murphy has been the winner now of all 3 of them. Absolutely unbelievable. Scaife gets the points. Jason Bright gets second. Greg Murphy gets third in race 3, but that's enough to make him the overall winner of this round. Just take a look at how much Holden loves coming to this place. All the way down to 7th position is where you find the General's men. Paul Radicic, the leading Ford. Marcus Ambrose climbs his way up into 9th position, and now he leads the championship on adjusted points by 22 points. It was 90 points when we turned up here at Pukekohe. It's been whittled away down to 22 points for Marcus Ambrose to Greg Murphy as we head to the last round.
Some real significant points haul for Murphy because he's come away from this weekend with 188 of them versus Marcus only 122. So without getting into the complexities of who drops what, in any man's language, that's the sort of yield you need if you're going to take the fight to Marcus Ambrose in the final round of the championship.